Hello and welcome back to another session on grammar and usage. Today we will discuss active and passive and also direct and indirect speech. Let's first start active and passive voice. Compare the two sentences. Rama helps Hari. Hari is helped by Rama. It will be seen that these two sentences express the same meaning. But in the first sentence, Rama helps Hari, the form of the verb shows that the person denoted by the subject does something. Rama, the person that is denoted by the subject, does something. The verb helps is therefore said to be in the active voice. In the second sentence, that is, Hari is helped by Rama, the form of the verb shows that something is done to the person denoted by the subject. Something is done to Hari. Hari, the person denoted by the subject. So the verb helped is said to be in the passive voice. Passive voice, active and passive voice can be defined as follows. A verb is said to be in the active voice when its form shows that a person or a thing denoted by the subject does something, or in other words, is the doer of the action. The active voice is so called because the person denoted by the subject acts. Passive voice can be defined as a verb when its form shows that something is done to the person or thing denoted by the subject. The passive voice is so called because the person or thing denoted by the subject is not active but passive. That is, it suffers or receives some action. So, the voice is that form of verb which shows whether what is denoted by the subject does something or has something done to it. There can be either in the active voice or the passive voice. For example, active voice, Sita loves Savitri. In the passive, it would be Savitri is loved by Sita. The mason is building the wall is the active voice. The passive voice would be the wall is being built by the mason. The peon opened the gate is in the active voice. The gate was opened by the peon is the passive. Some boys were helping the wounded man. The wounded man was being helped by some boys. He will finish the work in a fortnight is the active voice. The work will be finished by him in a fortnight. Who did this is a question in the active voice, and in the passive it would be by whom was this done. Why did your brother write such a letter is the active voice, and in the passive it would be why was such a letter written by your brother. Now, to make it more easier for you, I shall make it into a table and give it to you. The tenses are presented, or the tenses are given in one section and the active voice in another, and how it would change to the passive in the other. I want you to pay attention to this slide. Students must know when to use the active voice and when to use the passive voice. The ability to change the active voice into passive is not sufficient. The active voice is used when the agent is to be made prominent. The passive when the person or thing acted upon is to be made prominent. The passive is therefore generally preferred when the active form would involve the use of an indefinite or vague pronoun or noun. For example, somebody, they, people, we, etc. as subject. That is, when we do not know the agent or when it is not clear enough. My pen has been stolen. Somebody has stolen my pen. I was asked my name. They asked me my name. English is spoken all over the world. People speak English all over the world. I have been invited to the party. Someone has invited me to the party. We will execute all orders promptly. All orders will be executed promptly. In such cases, the agent with by is usually avoided. However, in the examples given earlier, the by phrase cannot be avoided where the agent has some importance and is necessary to complete the sentence. For instance, the ones that we said earlier, Savitri is loved by Sita. The wall is being built by the mason. The gate was opened by the peon, and so on. Now try these exercises. What you have to do is, you have to tell whether they are in the active voice or the passive voice. The cat killed the mouse. We compelled the enemy to surrender. The boy was bitten by a dog. The thief was caught. The boy made a kite. The ship was burned. The young man made a disturbance at the meeting. The captive was bound to a tree. The bird was killed by a cruel boy. The sudden noise frightened the horse. He is loved by all. You will have to see whether these sentences are the active or the passive. Now try to change these active voice into passive voice. Do remember the rules that I gave you and see whether you should avoid by phrase or you should use them. That also you have to bear in mind. The cat killed the mouse. The man cut down the tree. Columbus discovered America. His teacher praised him. The boy teased the dog. The police arrested him. Rama was making a kite. The boy caught the ball. He kept me waiting. We expect good news. The enemy have defeated our army. People will soon forget it. They opened the theatre only last month. We prohibit smoking. Little strokes fell great oaks. Everyone loves him. My cousin has drawn this picture. I will conquer him. My father will write a letter. The boy caught the ball. A policeman caught the thief. He scored 20 runs. So you are supposed to do all these and we'll take it up in the discussion session. Do note that when verbs take both a direct and an indirect object in the active voice or change the passive, either object may become the subject of the passive verb while the other is retained. For example, active voice, the guard refused him admittance. In the passive you can make it admittance was refused to him by the guard, or you can write he was refused admittance by the guard. Another one, Mr. Krishnaji teaches us grammar. Grammar is taught by Mr. Krishnaji, or we are taught grammar by Mr. Krishnaji. The manager will give you a ticket. A ticket will be given to you by the manager, or you will be given a ticket by the manager. Who taught you French? By whom was French taught you, or who were you taught French by, or by whom were you taught French? You can write any of these ways. He handed her a chair. A chair was handed to her, or she was handed a chair. Do bear in mind that to talk about an instrument used by the agent, we use with and not by. For instance, the dog was hit with a stick. It is in the active voice. Somebody hit the dog with a stick. Okay? So, but look at the next sentence. The dog was hit by a boy. And in the active, it would be a boy hit the dog. So, when we use an instrument, when we talk about an instrument, we use the word with, okay, and not by. But when we talk about an instrument used, or when we talk about an agent doing the work, or agent doing something, agent here means a subject, okay, doing something, then we use by. For example, the dog was hit with a stick. So here we are speaking about the instrument used by the agent. So we use with and not by. Whereas the next sentence, the dog was hit by a boy. That is, a boy hit the dog. Okay, and therefore there we use by. Next we shall do direct and indirect speech. When the actual words of a speaker are reproduced, it is called direct speech. For example, he said, "I'm going to school." When the main idea of a speaker's words is reported by another person and the exact words are not quoted, it is called indirect speech or reported speech. For example, he said that he was going to school. Look at the way these sentences are written. The first one, he said, then open inverted comma, I am going to school, close inverted comma. So it is reproduced the actual words spoken by the speaker, and therefore it is in the direct speech. Whereas in the second sentence, the words are changed. The main idea of the speaker is reported by another person and the exact words are not used, and this is called reported speech or indirect speech. For instance, he said that he was going to school. Now, quotation marks or inverted commas are used for direct speech. Example, I have cut my finger, cried Mrs. Sharma. I have cut my finger is in the inverted comma, and an exclamatory mark is also used. So we use inverted commas and also punctuations for the direct speech. Quotation marks are not used for the indirect or reported speech, and that is very important, and you must note that. Mrs. Sharma cried that she had cut her finger. Quotation marks and exclamatory marks are not used in reported speech. Example, is it bleeding very much? Mr. Sharma asked. It's the direct speech where you use question mark and inverted comma, but in reported speech we do not use any of these. Mr. Sharma asked if it was bleeding very much. Another difference is in reported speech, the reporting verbs like asked, enquired, commanded, ordered, requested, advised, suggested, exclaimed, shouted, etc. are often used in the place of the reporting verb said to convey the mood of the spoken words. For example, Ramesh said, how hot the soup is. That is the direct speech, and it is put in inverted comma and an exclamatory mark is used. Ramesh, when you put it into or when you change it into the reported speech or the indirect speech, it would be like this. Ramesh exclaimed that the soup was hot. Stir it with your spoon, his sister said. That is in the direct speech. His sister advised him to stir it with a spoon. That is the indirect speech. The son said to his mother, I shall never be rude to you. That is the direct speech. The son promised his mother that he would never be rude to her. That is the indirect speech. Why has the clock stopped? Thought Peter. That is in the direct speech. Peter wondered why the clock had stopped. It is the indirect speech. The tense of the verb in the reported speech is in the past tense. However, if the verb in the reported speech is stating a universal truth, a habit, a constant situation, the tense of the verb does not change. For example, the boy said, I brush my teeth every day. This is the simple present tense. It's a habitual action, and therefore you do not change the tense into the past. You use the same thing because it is a habitual action. The boy said that he brushes his teeth every day. The only difference that arises is you add an es to it because it is in the third person singular. The teacher said, the sun rises in the east. It's a universal truth. The teacher said that the sun rises in the east. See, there is no change. There is no change in the tense. Okay, the sun rises in the east is a universal truth, and it is in the simple present tense, and therefore there is no change in the indirect speech either. The teacher said that the sun rises in the east. The only change that happens is the way it is reported. She said, my son wants to be an actor. She said that her son wants to be an actor and not wanted to be an actor. That is incorrect because it is her son's wishes or expectation that is being spoken about, and therefore it should be in the simple present tense, and when you change it into the reported speech also, there is no change in the tense. Now, the pronouns are also changed in the reported speech. The pronouns of the first person are changed. He said, I am bored. He said that he was bored. Meera said, we are going to the movies. Meera said that they were going to the movies. Rinki said, my friends gave me a treat. Rinki said that her friends gave her a treat. Pronouns of the second person are changed as below. Example, he said to her, you are beautiful. He said to her that she was beautiful. You must write neatly, the teacher told her pupils. The teacher advised her pupils that they must write neatly. Pronouns of the third person do not change. Example, I said they have gone out. I informed that they have gone out. There is no change in they because it is the third person. Leela said, these books are theirs. Leela said that those books were theirs. While converting direct speech into the indirect speech, the tense of the verb must change accordingly. Simple present changes to simple past, but again the exception is whether it is universal truth or habitual actions or expectations, that you must bear in mind. Simple past changes to past perfect. Present continuous changes to past continuous. Present perfect changes to past perfect. Can changes to could. Shall changes to would. Will changes to would. May changes to might. For example, she said, I may attend the meeting. She said that she might attend the meeting. Renu said, I have finished my homework. It is in the present perfect. Renu said that she had finished her work, and it becomes, in the indirect speech, it becomes past perfect. Now, another thing that you have to bear in mind while doing the direct and indirect speech are words indicating nearness of time and places. They are changed to words indicating distance of time and places. For example, this changes to that. These changes to those. Here changes to there. Now to then. Today to that day. Tomorrow changes to the next or the following day. Yesterday changes to the day before or the previous day. Example, the interviewer said to the young man, we will let you know our decision by tomorrow. The interviewer said to the young man that they would let him know their decision by the next day. These are the documents you will require. The travel agent informed the tourist. The travel agent informed the tourist that those were the documents she would require. Another thing that you have to bear in mind or remember in direct and indirect speech, when reporting a question or order or a request, the connector that is not used. In reporting a question, an order or request, the connector that is not used. For example, the girl said, may I come in? The girl asked if she could come in. Not the girl asked that if she could come in. That is incorrect. The girl asked if she could come in. Pay your taxes, the king ordered his subjects. The king ordered his subjects to pay their taxes. In reported speech, the word or words or the sound used by the speaker to express an emotion is omitted. There is no expression of emotions in reported speech. For example, wow, what a handsome man he is, the girls said. The girls exclaimed, what a handsome man he was. Look at the two sentences. In the first sentence, wow, what a handsome man he is, the girl said, uses emotions to express their idea or to express what they to express their point. But in the reported speech, the emotion is omitted. Hello, my friend said to me. How are you? My friend greeted me and asked how I was. Now, here are a few questions for you. You can quickly do them. Change the following sentences from direct to indirect speech. Congratulations, you have come first in the exam, the principal said to me. Congratulations, you have come first in the exams, the principal said to me. Second one, Mohit's father said, we must not watch TV while having our dinner. Mohit's father said, we must not watch TV while having our dinner. Third question, what an expensive car he drives, remarked Rahul's neighbor. What an expensive car he drives, remarked Rahul's neighbor. Fourth question, how well you speak German, his teammate remarked. How well you speak German, his teammate remarked. Next question, hurry up, said Viru's mother. The bus will be here in a minute. Hurry up, said Viru's mother. The bus will be here in a minute. The policeman ordered the truck driver, show your license. The policeman ordered the truck driver, show your license. You will have to surrender your passport, the officer said to the passenger. You will have to surrender your passport, the officer said to the passenger. Mr. Jain said to his colleague, will you please drop me at the airport? Mr. Jain said to his colleague, will you please drop me at the airport? Light travels in a straight line, the teacher explained. Light travels in a straight line, the teacher explained. I saw an interesting film last evening, said my friend. I saw an interesting film last evening, said my friend. The caller asked, may I speak with Shweta? The caller asked, may I speak with Shweta? May I know who is on the line? Her father enquired. May I know who is on the line? Her father enquired. Ouch! The bee stung me, the child said. Ouch! The bee stung me, the child said. So we'll take this up in the discussion session. Now, you do have idioms and phrases also, but then your textbook has not been printed yet. So for your questions, we may have to depend on your textbook as well. But idioms are something that you have to have an idea of without your textbook as well. You should be able to understand what idioms are and try to grasp the meaning of the idioms. Like you did have this for transactions in your the first semester paper, transactions as well. Okay, so idioms may be defined as expressions peculiar to a language. They play a very important part in all languages. Many verbs, when followed by various prepositions or adverbs, acquire or they get an idiomatic sense. Like for instance, he backed up his friend's claim. Now look at the word backed up. Backed up, back is verb with, or backed is verb with a preposition. And therefore, when a verb and a preposition come together, then that particular word acquire an idiomatic sense. It is used as an idiom. Okay, the present disturbance will soon blow over. So he backed up his friend's claim means he supported. Now the present disturbances will soon blow over. Will soon blow over. Now what does that mean? That means pass off. Okay, the present problems, the pandemic will soon blow over means it will pass off soon, hopefully. Yeah, we should all be hopeful that things will change better, things will be back to normal one day. It will take time, but we shouldn't be too negative in our thought. Let's be hopeful that things will get back to will get back to normal. Then the police produced evidence to bear out the charge of murder. Now here bear out is used to mean substantiate. You must not build your hopes upon his promises. Your hopes upon. What do you mean by hopes upon? Hopes upon means rely. Don't rely on his false promises. The matter has been cleared up. So cleared up means explained. I readily closed with his offer. I readily closed with his offer means accepted his offer. I readily closed with means accepted. He is ready to dispose of his car for rupees 2 lakhs. He is ready to dispose of. So dispose of here means sell. Rust has eaten away the plate, which means it has corroded the plate. Okay, rust has eaten away the plate. They fixed upon him to do the work. So they fixed upon him to do the work means that particular person was chosen to do the work. They chose him to get the work done. Please hear me out. So what do you mean by please hear me out? Please hear me out means hear me to the end. Have patience. Listen, just please allow me to speak and allow me to tell or explain. So please hear me out means hear me to the end. I have hit upon a good plan to get rid of him. So I have hit upon a good plan to get rid of him means I have found. Hit upon, find. Okay, so this is how idioms are framed. Now what you are going to do is, because there is no point in teaching you a lot of idioms, comes as an assignment. Again, it is marked for your internal assignment, your third semester internals. So I want you all to write 20 idioms. Find 20 idioms and send it to me by mail. Okay, mail it to me. Clear? 20 idioms each. Give you a few idioms. There is no love lost between them. That means they are not on good terms. They dislike each other. There's no love lost between them. Okay, it doesn't mean they love each other, they like each other. It's just the opposite. There is no love lost between them. Means they are not in, or they are not on good terms. They dislike each other. Okay, many people in that country live from hand to mouth. So many people in India live from hand to mouth, meaning scarce food without any provision for future. Okay, he turns even his errors to account. So he turns even his errors to account means he profits even by his errors. He is accused of sitting on the fence. Now that's a very famous idiom. He is accused of sitting on the fence. What do you mean by sitting on the fence? Sitting on the fence has several meanings actually. One is halting between two opinions, hesitating which side to join. Another one is just sitting lamely. Like for instance, there is a problem, and instead of trying to solve the problem, instead of joining in, you just sit there lamely doing nothing, or you don't do anything to solve that problem. So sitting on the fence. It is all one. It is all one means it's just the same. Okay. Then what is the point at issue? Not of issue. What is the point at issue? Means what is the dispute? What is the point in a dispute? Okay, why do you want to fight? What's the point? So what is the point at issue? At issue. Okay. The inquiry has brought to light some startling facts. Very soon Sushant Singh Rajput's case will bring to light some startling facts. So yes, another thing that you have to remember is you have to change them according to the tense you use. Okay, so the tense, the inquiry has brought to light some startling facts, and the one that I said, Sushant Singh Rajput's case will soon bring to light some startling facts. Okay, so I have used the future tense. Then when I saw him last, he was beside himself. he was beside himself with grief. When I saw him last, he was beside himself with grief, means he was out of his mind. Okay, when I saw him last, he was beside himself with grief. Okay, then what you say has no bearing on the subject in hand, meaning it has no, it is under discussion or it is under consideration. Now, collocation with movement. Next topic, it comes in module 3, the 5th topic, that is movement in terms of collocation. Now, these words are often used in combination with movement. You have already studied collocation in transactions. When you study transactions, you have vocabulary, and in that section you have collocations, the collocative verbs. So I need not teach collocations again. So here this time you have to study collocations with movement. Now these are words often used in combination with the word movement. That's very quite easy topic. Okay. Now anarchist movement. Now, what is anarchist movement? Several types of movements. We will be discussing many movements. So, you will have a word movement along with it. For instance, anarchist movement is, it's noteworthy, and it's a relatively small growth of socialism and the survival of an influential anarchist movement. And next one is anti-war movement. Anti-war movement has a sentence would be like this: the anti-war movement has warned of these problems since the start of the war. Now, artistic movement, how would you write, how would you frame a sentence with artistic movement? Some years ago, it was difficult to properly evaluate an artistic movement that quite autonomously was in the process of development, or any sentence that you want to form. Next, bodily movement, communist movement, conservation movement, conservative movement, constant movement, dynamic movement, ease of movement, environmental movement, evangelical movement, feminist movement, forward movement, freedom of movement, global movement, growing movement, independence movement, indigenous movement, intellectual movement, liberation movement, modern movement, nationalist movement, opposition movement, popular movement, and so on. So that's with collocations using movement. Next topic is phrasal verbs. Now, what are phrasal verbs? A combination of verb and preposition or adverbial particle is called a phrasal verb. It assumes a new meaning from the initial meaning of the verb. The function of the phrasal verb is to make the language more flexible and beautiful. Let's discuss few phrasal verbs. Now, we cannot discuss everything because phrasal verbs are many, and therefore it's impossible for us to discuss everything. So we shall discuss a few, and then before our exam, hopefully we shall be getting the textbook so that we can understand what all phrasal verbs they have chosen for us. So till then, let's get to have an understanding of the phrasal verbs. I'll start with the letter A, and we'll just move on. We'll cover few of the phrasal verbs. Act 4, act, with act. Now the word act, when you use the word act with a preposition for, that is act for, it means officiate. Mr. Bose will act for the directors. So it means to officiate. Another one is act on. Act on means act according to. She has acted on my advice. So she has acted according to my advice. She has acted on my advice. Another meaning for act on is to produce effect. The medicine will act on the patient after some time. The next one is act out. Act out means to perform something or perform how something happened. Example, the children started to act out the whole incident. Okay, now let's start with B, back out. Few phrasal verbs with B. Back out of. Back out of means withdraw. Rahul backed out of his commitment. Back up. Back up means support. I backed him up during the election. See how it is written? I backed him up, not I backed up him. I backed him up during the election. Back down. Back down means to withdraw from a position or to abandon a claim. She refused to back down on a point of principle. Now, back off. Back off means to retreat. Seeing his intense anger, she backed off. Okay. Next one, bear. Bear away. Bear away means win. Anil bore away the first prize in sports. Bear away. Bear away means win. Anil bore away the first prize in sports. Bear down. Bear down means overpower. She was borne down with grief. So, when you change the sentence, it will turn out to be, or it will change from the initial form. The verb will change and you will be using the participle there. She was borne down with grief. Bear out. Bear out means confirm. The result will bear out his outstanding skills. Bear up. Bear up means to remain cheerful during a difficult time. He has to bear up much for the sake of love. Bear with. Bear with means to be patient. He had to bear with her rude behavior. Bear upon. Bear upon means relevant to. This testimony did not bear upon the inquiry. Now next is break. Few phrasal verbs with break. Break down, break in, break into, break off with double F, break out, break up. Okay, so break down means stop working because of a fault. Our car broke down on the highway. Our car broke down on the highway. It also means lose composure or lose health, meaning or health. Okay, she broke down in the middle of her speech. Okay, break in or break into both means enter illegally. The burglar or the thief broke into the manager's house last night. Then break into again also has another meaning. It means do something at once. She broke into tears when she heard the news. So it's a sudden action. Okay, she broke into tears when she heard the news. Break off. Break off with OF. That's it. Break off. Stop a habit. He is trying to break himself off drinking. See the way it's written? He is trying to break himself off drinking. Break off with double F means to stop or discontinue. He broke off his relations with Rani. He broke off his relations with Rani. That is double F. Okay. Break out. Break out means escape. The convict broke out of the police custody. It also means arise, to spread, to begin, suddenly, and so on. World War II broke out in 1939. Or a fire broke out in our colony yesterday. Break up means to end. The meeting broke up late at night. Okay. Then few more phrasal verbs. Bring about, bring forth, bring in, bring off, bring on, bring out, bring around, bring up. Now bring about means to cause. What has brought about the quarrel in the family? Bring forth means give rise to. The act brought forth discontent among people. Bring in. it means to earn. His business brings in a lot of money. You have to be careful when you're using the verb, because when you use the verb, the tense also matters. Okay, you have to change accordingly. Meaning, when you say, like for instance, he, since his, when you are speaking about this sentence, his business, so it's his business, and therefore it's a third person singular, so be careful to add an s there. His business brings in a lot of money, not his business bring in a lot of money. No, you shouldn't be using it as such. You have to change the phrasal words according to the structure of your sentence. That's very important. Then bring off means achieve successfully. The movement brought off no considerable gain. The movement brought off no considerable gain. So it's written in the past form. See, so bring off changes to brought off. Okay, so these are a few phrasal verbs. Now again, it's difficult for us to look into every phrasal verbs, so you will have to find out more phrasal verbs. So what are phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are used to make the language more beautiful and also flexible. It is used with a verb and a preposition, or an adverbial participle is called a phrasal verb. Okay, so it gives more meaning. It has a different meaning from the initial meaning of the verb. Okay, and so what you are going to do is you're going to find out or collect as many phrasal verbs as possible. Okay, now there are immense lot of phrasal verbs, so I want you to Google and search and do a small research on phrasal verbs.